Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sander Lanch podcast. I am Data, and with me is
Dak
and Jamie.
Joe's still out. This is the second episode of our Baby Break 2. While Joe and wife welcome their new baby and spend time not sleeping and changing diapers and all the fun things that you get to do when there's a new baby. Or even, when there's an older baby, there's still lots of diapers to change.
True that.
Yeah. This week, we read a pretty short story called I Hate Dragons, the extended version. The original version was about the length of one of these chapters and was a writing exercise that Brandon did to write a scene with just dialogue. And then he expanded a little bit into what we were reading this time. But
I'm glad you said that, because I was reading this just going, man, if this is the extended version, how short was the original?
yeah, well, I mean, and you can read it like the link I gave you, the very beginning of the first chapter. He's got a link to the dialogue writing exercise, which is mostly the same as the first chapter with a little bit tacked on to the end, basically. But yeah, it's I've done one of those before. I had to write a thing for a contest that was dialogue only, and it is trickier than it seems.
I think I have done that, but not for a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too. So that is what we're going over. Probably won't be a super long episode. Get excited. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sander Lanch is about to begin.
After the long, hard days of hunting and of war, our throats are tired and thirsty and our bodies drenched in gore. But we won't waste our evenings feeling tired and feeling spent. We perk right up when we breathe in that wholesome honey scent. That's iridyllic brandy, too fruity for these tongues.
So yeah, we got a little 3-chapter story, chapters 1, 2, and 4, which just really makes you be like, well, now I want to know what was in chapter 3 that he refused to release. But what did you guys think of this story?
This was fun. Like, the more I read of it, I'm just thinking to myself, this is like he wanted to do a Monty Python sketch set in Skyrim.
I totally see that. Yep.
Yeah, it's like, got the comedic, like the guy who's like, yeah, I'm in danger for my life, but I will also correct the grammar every chance I get because that's my thing. Like you got the team leader who doesn't know his ass from his hands, and like the sorceress, and then it's like, oh, this is all heating up, and he's dead. It's like, man, this is just this is easily the first outright comedy we've ever read from him, so that was fun. But yeah, no, this was really cool. I liked it.
It's definitely different from what we've read because, like you said, it's very just like straight comedic, and it's almost like if you had a whole Wayne 3 chapters in a row or something, and because he's just ridiculous. But I'd never thought about it before, but I can absolutely see like Monty Python doing this. There's just 2 guys standing there in ridiculous outfits talking about hunting dragons, and it's like, I don't want to get eaten.
And then like you get into it, and it's like the dragon just looking at him. It's like, man, you suck. And then the dragon's just like, all right, get up here, get in my belly.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what is happening?
And then it gets like horribly, like the dragon just gets horribly bloodily like murdered, and it's like, oh well, that took a turn. Okay.
And it just made it worse because he could talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was a little bit. We're not used to reading such a short story. Like I was prepared that we were going into a short story, but I found myself getting really invested, and then I was like, oh, the dragon can talk? Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh, dead dragon. Okay, that's fine. Oh, dead main character. Okay, that's a thing. I really liked in the first chapter just the dialogue. I was sort of surprised because I was able to keep up with exactly who it was. I found the correction of all the grammar after a little while. I was like, oh, stop it. We understand. And then I was like, hang on a minute, you're correcting spelling in dialogue. And I'm so glad that got addressed, because I was like, what, how? I don't understand what's going on here. I'm so confused. Have I missed something? But I thought that was kind of a cool little superpower to have, or knack, is it?
Yeah.
Got a knack for that? Yeah. Which I thought was kind of cool too. The sorceress, I'm so interested in her. I really do want to know what's in chapter 3, because the little blurb bit at the beginning of chapter 4 was like, no, you're reading this right. Brandon left it out. So I was like, oh, now I do want to know what was in that. And then the note at the end of like, there might be some more if Brandon decides to write some more or release some more or whatever. Where are you going to go from there? Is he dead? I mean, they didn't confirm he's dead.
It's true. I think
Just that
in
it was
my
poor
mind,
timing.
yeah, in my mind, I think he survived, but it's just like you could easily end there and just you could have added a line to the end like, and he got eaten, and then you'd have a story.
And he was
Yeah.
delicious.
But it was good. I enjoyed it.
I kind of agree about the grammar thing where it's just like at first I like that comedy. I love he's like I can hear commas and stuff or apostrophes and I was like okay that's funny and then what he does it so much that I'm just like okay no I mean I got it.
It's like,
It was
is
funny.
this really important right now?
Yeah.
And I think too, coming off the back of reading 3 books with Wayne and not having it pointed out, I was like, I can understand what's going on. You don't need to correct this. It wasn't really jarring to read someone speak that way.
Yeah.
Because we are used to, ain't got nothing, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
It doesn't come naturally to me to speak, form sentences that way. So, yeah, but I can read it and it's no problem. And then, yeah, it was a bit jarring to go, oh, you're stopping, you're correcting it all the time. So the flow is a bit broken, but I enjoyed the little, you're in a perilous situation and then we're stopping to talk about, oh, but you used this instead of this and it's actually this and I'm going to give you an explanation as to why you're wrong. It's like, no one's got time for that.
And also when it's like, oh, you shouldn't use that apostrophe there. It's like, I wasn't using apostrophe. Yeah, you were. How do you, what?
He's
You
like
thought it.
yeah I knew what you meant what you thought somehow.
It's like, but what I meant to say still sounds like perfectly fine for what I said. It's like, yeah, but you didn't say it right. How did I not say it right?
You used the wrong there. How do you know?
It's weird for me because I kind of relate to it. There was like a year there where a large part of my job was reading over stuff and catching the spelling and grammar and like sentence structure type mistakes. And so I'm like, oh, I get where you're coming from. They stick out to me too. But at the same time, it's just like he really takes it kind of far.
Well, it's like it sticks out to you because you're reading it. He's not.
Yeah.
Like that's actually makes it like it's one of those stories like this would not work in a visual medium. Like if it was like like a short animated clip or a live action clip or anything, it wouldn't work. He would just come off as an asshole because we as the viewers would not be able to see the mistakes they're making.
Oh, that's a good point. See, now I'm trying to picture that Monty Python where it's like, you said there. I know I said there. No, you said THEY apostrophe RE. I did not. And yeah, okay, maybe he would seem like an asshole.
If anyone was going to make it work, though, it would be Monty Python.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
You're not wrong.
John Cleese's Skip.
He's a very old Skip. I never pictured John Cleese from like the early Python days. In my mind, he's always like Rat Race aged John Cleese with like he's all gray and he's got the little mustache and stuff.
No, the mental image I have of John Cleese is from Fawlty Towers.
Basil Fawlty.
Basil Fawlty. We watched that a ton growing up.
There's only like 12 or 13 episodes or something, isn't there?
Something like that, yeah.
Might
always seemed like there were more.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones like you grow up and you think, man, we watched so many episodes of those as a kid. You grow up, it's like, oh, there was 6. What?
Yep. Now I'm looking through his IMDb to see what else I imagine him from, but he does a lot of voiceover in later years. So he's the king.
That's right. He was in Shrek.
And so I'm like, apparently he's in Charlotte's Web as a sheep and just.
What?
He was in the movie Stranger Than Fiction, uncredited as the waiter. Okay.
We watched that only last year. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I don't remember him at all. That either. Now I got to go back and check that out.
It's a great movie, so I'm happy to do that.
Right, yeah. It's a good movie. My wife hates Will Ferrell, so I got her to watch it once, but not again.
Really? Because that's Will Ferrell at probably his least Will Ferrell-y.
Yes, and that's why I was like, here, try this one, because he's not very Will Ferrell in this one. And she said that it was okay, but, it's not one that she wants to watch again.
No, that's fair.
He's in the 1996 movie Mr. Toad's Wild Ride as Mr. Toad's lawyer.
I remember he was in a couple of Bond movies.
Yeah, he was Q for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was like the new Q's supervisor or something. I don't even remember how it all went.
No, he was in 2 movies, and like the first one was like Desmond Llewellyn was retiring as Q after like 19 movies or something.
Yeah.
And John Cleese was his successor, and then he was in the follow-up to that, which was that terrible Die Another Day. And then they rebooted the series, so he didn't come back.
Oh, he's nearly Headless Nick. I'd forgotten that.
Oh, shit. I forgot about that, too, because he was in it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Across many movies.
Across many movies, yeah. The ghosts don't have a big role in the books, but they have an even smaller role in the movies.
Nearly headless. How can you be nearly headless?
Oh, goodness. I remember, like, Dobby is the same way, where Dobby's role in the books is not huge, but it's decent. And then in the movies, he's just, like, he shows up in the second movie, and then, like, you see him not at all until his death is supposed to be really affecting in, like, the last movie. And I'm like, but I haven't seen him for, like, 7 years. Why would I care?
I think that got me is like, oh my god, he died. And it's like, well, he did stand on a table giving them a massive rant about how he's free for like 5 minutes. It's a wonder he didn't die sooner.
Right?
I feel like we've gone down this rabbit hole pretty far now.
Yeah, we have.
This episode of the Sandy Lounge Baby Break brought to you by John Cleese.
Yeah. Good guy, John Cleese. The World Is Not Enough was the other James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, good guy. Was it good guy Norden?
Good guy Norden.
No. Good guy Norden is now played by John Cleese.
I can totally see that. Yep.
Yep. Smiling obligator.
Okay, I guess let's get into these 3 chapters, I guess. And I lost the browser window that had it. Hold on. I might have used that tab to find John Cleese's IMDb. No, here it is. Okay. So we meet Master Johnston and Skip. And Master Johnston is the leader of this group of dragon hunters that Skip is working for. And what Skip would like is to get paid. He has the very dangerous job of being bait for the dragons. And he's like, I mean, so I guess, no, yeah. It's not that he wants to be paid. I'm sorry. What he wants to do is maybe get a new job in the dragon hunting troop. Because he's like, you put bait out there enough times, eventually it's going to get eaten. Master Johnston says, you've been doing this for a year now, and you ain't ever gotten 8. And that's where we start to see the grammar stuff come in. He's like, that sentence was deplorable, sir. What's math have to do with this?
So it's not just he notices like when the words are wrong. He also can see what they meant to say.
I think, yeah, but we don't get to that yet until later, I guess. But I mean, divisible. When he says that, you're thinking divisible. That just makes sense. Like,
yeah, yes.
What other math word would sound similar?
Yeah.
And I've started thinking, and he says, a dangerous habit. That it's chronic, I'm afraid.
I like that exchange.
Yeah, I got to remember that one. Chronic condition thinking. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about how many reptilian bicuspids I've seen in recent months, and I've cussed more than twice myself.
He really just wanted to make that joke. It's like, all right, how can I?
Yep. It does seem like a stretch to get bicuspids into a sentence. And so the guy offers him a 2% raise. And he goes, but I don't get any money. You pay me in food. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I forgot you were a smart one. Okay, 4%. He says, you could make it double and it would be meaningless. And he's like, double? What do you think I am, made of coins? But it's made M-A-I-D. And the guy's like, the word is made, M-A-D-E, sir. And he's like, huh? That's what I said. He says, never mind. Not about money. You want more food? No. I don't. So Master Johnson's like, come on, get on with it. Dragon ain't going to kill himself. And he's like, well, I mean, technically, being sentient, they probably have a suicide rate similar to other intelligent creatures, which is something I'd never thought about before. But yeah, I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
Dark.
It is dark, yes. But now I'm just like, has anyone ever written a story about a depressed dragon committing suicide? That's like a whole new thing.
Suicidal Dragons is a great metal band name.
Yeah, it is.
Joe's not here, so I need to call the band names.
Yep, there you go. You could you'd need some fire effects if you had that band name. Just
oh yeah,
do the whole drag. A friend of mine went this last weekend to a Rammstein show, and They're known for their fire effects. And he was like, oh yeah, it was like at one point they just pulled out giant flamethrowers and were firing them over the heads of the audience. I was like,
Wow.
wow, okay, that's a thing.
Man, their liability insurance must be huge.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Well, and he said that there were these giant like columns on the ground, like among the audience, that shot like 15-foot high columns of fire into the air. And he was like, we were like really far away, and I could still feel the heat from these things when they turned on. And I was like, geez, like what must standing next to that be like? This is horrible and dangerous. But yes, so I don't know that I would have wanted to go to that show, but it sounded really interesting.
I mean, I'll admit I'm curious.
Yeah. But apparently these guys, they have like 19 semi trucks that tour the country with them just to carry the speaker equipment that they take to each of these shows. They have like
Dear God,
Huge.
enormous tons of speakers. And so I was like, this is insane. All right.
how long does that take to set up?
It apparently takes like 3 or 4 days is what he said when to set up at each new town.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I can't imagine. But apparently it was a great show. So, you know.
I mean, I believe it.
You put the work in, you get a great show. So the guy Skip wants to change his participation in the hunting of the dragons. I'd like to hold a harpoon or fire a crossbow or something like that. Like, but you can't do that while you're out in the middle of the field being bait, silly. Like, no, I'd rather do that instead of being bait. And apparently they're having this discussion while hiding behind rocks from a dragon who's flying around. A 30-foot long dragon with black, distinguished by the black shading of its scales that glow in radiant colors when struck by light. That sounds really cool. Like, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty.
Yeah. I mean, for a creature that wants to eat you. But, you know.
Of course, terrifying, but pretty.
Hey, I mean, bears are, majestic to look at. They'll still maul the shit out of you.
Yeah, stay away from bears. I saw a thing the other day that was about moose, that it was like, a moose will kill you. Don't get close to the moose. Even if you're in your car, stay away from the moose. It will get you. It will kill you. It will beat you with its antlers until you are a bloody pulp spread across the antlers. And I was like, okay, good.
It's graphic.
Yeah, don't bother moose. I got it. You didn't have to get that into it.
Note to self, moose are jerks.
Yep. It was like, if it sees you, it will chase you until it kills you. Wow, that's hardcore. Okay.
That makes me want that Kevin Smith horror movie about moose.
Oh, I remember this when it was being. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was supposed to make like
Jaws.
yeah. He said it was basically Jaws with a moose instead of a shark. And I'm like, I will watch the shit out of that. That sounds incredible.
Who was doing that?
Kevin Smith, the guy who does like Dogma, Chasing Amy, Clerks.
It was going to be part of the True North trilogy along with Tusk and Yoga Hosers.
Never saw Yoga Hoses. Like, Tusk was ludicrous, but I really enjoyed it.
I never saw either of those.
Tusk, it's incredibly silly, but I really liked it.
I didn't realize that movie starred Johnny Depp.
Yep.
Oh, and the Yoga Hosers is a spinoff of Tusk, and that one also has Johnny Depp along with Harley Quinn Smith.
Yeah, she's in both of them.
Oh, and Johnny Depp's daughter. Okay, so those are the two girls. I saw trailers for Yoga Hosers, and I knew it was about like two girls. That makes sense. Those are the two. That's how you get Johnny Depp in your movie. Be like, hey, your daughter can be one of the stars. Of course, now maybe it's easier. He's not as in demand as he once was.
Yep.
And so the guy's telling him, no, you can't stop being bait. You're a superstar. You have real talent. That's what the Great Rock did give you. And so we get the side note that he is a Wingosian who worships the moon goddess. Scientists had recently explained that the moon is really a big rock and not a goddess. And being pragmatic folk, they had adopted their belief system, so they now worship the big rock.
Man, where is this in Say's Metal Minds?
Right?
Yeah.
I love the practicality of that. It's like, oh, science says this. Well, we'll absolutely accept what science says. We'll just worship that. It's fine.
We'll just adapt.
Yeah. And then there's the thing. He's like, reach for the stars. And he's like, but stars are big balls of gas that are burning. If you reach for one, you'd burn your hand.
Man, like, just stop trying to be like I have to be the smartest guy in the room, dude.
He does come off. Yeah. He's
Literally a dragon overhead. Not the time.
oh gosh. And so yeah, they're eventually he's just like, okay, enough of this. You're getting out there. The sorceress is waiting for us to gut this one, and it ain't wise to keep a sorceress waiting. And so they've got the guy in like a coat with roses or rose scent in it, I guess, so that the dragon doesn't smell him until it's time. So they take the coat off, they throw water on him to douse the lingering scent, and then he goes out onto the open ground. And that's the end of chapter 1, which is a great place to end the chapter. Very dramatic. And then he's just like, I'm so very tired. And there's the thing, he was quite proud of his acting.
It took me a bit to figure out what was going on here. I was like, did we miss the battle? What? No, he has to act for the dragon.
Also, I hate sunlight, so I'm not going to look upward. I'm just going to take a stroll along this rocky place of rocks. Oh, gosh. I love that we're in his head, and he's just like, I'm quite proud of my acting, and it immediately just proves to be a horrible actor.
Oh my god, if only it was nice for me to lie down here in this field.
And so dragons apparently are real good in the air, but not super agile. And if you get them on the ground, it's hard for them to get themselves up into the sky again. They have to get a running start or maybe jump off a cliff or something. Which totally makes sense. I like that detail. So he has to convince it to land so the hunters can jump out and kill it. So normally dragons don't land. They'll snatch you like mid-flight. But he's ready for that. When he feels it coming up, he just trips. And it was an expert trip. Something he was getting quite good at. And he like hits the ground in a little hollow in the rock so the dragon can't grab him. Gosh. I'm sad that I tripped and got dust in my eyes, so I couldn't see anything for a few moments. Maybe I'll just take my nap here. I hope no wild beasts are around to savage me. And then I like, Master Johnston is over. Bite. The script says bite me.
Just, oh my god.
I'm extrapolating. What's the dragon skin have to do with this? No, that's exfoliate.
Just totally see. Was Graham Chapman was King Arthur? I could totally see him as Master Johnston.
Yeah. Or I imagine, and I don't remember who it was. I imagine Master Johnston more as like the dad of that kid in the Lancelot bit.
Oh yeah. Look it up now.
Yeah, it's like King of the Swamp Castle. I don't remember his name or which Python played him, but it was Michael Palin, Sir Galahad. Played the King of the Swamp Castle.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So many roles, and you got to try and just, all right, which one was this? Which one was this? Which one was this?
Yeah, because it's like you look at any of them, and there's like 10 roles for that movie. Oh, good times. And so yes, the dragon lands on a rock formation nearby, perched like a bird in a tree. It says, and the dragon's just like, "You're a terrible actor." Glad somebody called him out.
It's like, if you've got a 30-foot long death lizard sitting above you that just goes, "You suck," that's got to be a massive blow to the self-esteem.
Yeah.
But I do like how the dragons are being portrayed as like every bit as intelligent as people, so it's not like they're dumb. He's just like, "You're a bad actor." Like that's a very complex thing to have gotten to.
Yeah, it's like, I know they said they were sentient before, but I assumed it would be like, like they have their own language and stuff. They don't really talk. They're just sort of nomads, and they eat people. And then he just comes down, he's speaking in flawless English and is just actually quite a down-to-earth guy. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is not where I thought this was going.
Yeah, I was shocked at his ability to converse.
Who wrote the script? The master? Yeah, he needs an editor.
He needs
Burn.
I've seen pieces of soap that were better actors than you, which makes you go, wait, so does the dragon go to plays? Do the dragons have like plays, dragon plays? I don't.
Just imagining a dragon in like a human costume sauntering across the stage while other dragons just like, get the human! Ah!
There's a dragon version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That would be something to see. Now I want that story about dragon actors. You don't even like you start out writing a story and you think it's just actors, like it's just about them doing the play, and then gradually you figure out that they're dragons. That'd be fun. So yeah, he sorry, what, you gonna say something?
No, I was just gonna say there's some Patreon content for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna write. You patrons are gonna have to read stories that I've written. Sorry, at that point I should be paying you probably. So.
I'm gonna write this one down for later use. Maybe I can make something of this.
So he tries to blame. He's like, you know how difficult it is to work with such awful lines, and the writer's like, that doesn't excuse the bad acting.
Actually, sorry to go back to that point of the dragon act. Is just a reminder I had. I don't know if you've read the X-Men storyline, Age of Apocalypse.
I did at some point, but it's been a long time.
Like at one point, so it's like all these different stories going off and doing their own thing, and one of the stories is a group of them trying to lay low and hide from Apocalypse's forces, and they're just presenting as like a traveling troupe of actors. But the two main actors in the group are Toad, so looks like a frogman, and Sauron, the pterodactyl guy.
Oh.
and he's such a grumpy arsehole, but he's reading Shakespearean lines. It's the funniest thing ever.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, for a traveling show, you would want to have something weird and interesting to show off. So maybe I get it that you put those two front and center. Why not?
Yeah, and I guess like if they've got wings, they don't need strings to pull them up into the.
Yeah, exactly. do the Tempest or something, and there's some flying magical stuff. So Skip is like, so I mean, if you saw through the whole thing, shouldn't you have left? And the dragon just like narrows his eyes at him. It's like, And so the dragon, he doesn't want to leave because the scent of Skip, his dragon nip, as he puts it, is just so powerful, so intoxicating that the dragon really wants him. Dragon's like, why don't you just come on up here? but you'll eat me. Yeah. I think
At least he's honest about it.
Right? Yeah. I mean, he's not trying to trick him. He's just like, no, yeah, I'm totally going to eat you. And he's like, oh, it won't be so bad. There will hardly be any pain. It's spelled THEY''RE. And Skip's like, I don't care if there's pain or not. I'll still be dead. And also, you're using the wrong version of there. How can you tell? There's no difference in the sounds they make. He says, I can hear apostrophes. What, really? I can hear spelling, too. It's my other knack. And the dragon's like, that's interesting. That's real interesting. Anyway, come on up here and get eaten. I'm a very busy dragon. Just come on. He's like, that's funny. I have lots of time. I can sit here all day as long as I'm not getting eaten.
I'm very busy. I need to go catch the latest opera.
Yeah, exactly. Dragon opera is very popular. And then there's a whole circle of life conversation, which I thought was interesting because it's just like, he's like, it's the beauty of nature, human. Like, everything gets consumed by a bigger creature until we get to the apex predator. That's me, by the way. Cows eat the grass, wolves eat the cow, men eat the wolves, and dragons eat the men. It's like, we don't eat wolves, actually. I mean, unless we're really hungry. They don't taste very good. Too stringy.
So this is funny when it goes into like later on. He's talking about, well, we can't eat the other animals. We're supposed to eat you because you guys taste the best. And he's like, well, these guys are supposed to eat the wolves, but they don't taste great. So your little circle of life seems a bit fucked up there, dragon.
I mean, wolves can eat people too, so maybe the dragon should be going after the wolves. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he says that they don't eat wolves, and the dragon's like, well, I mean, you're supposed to. Men just never do what they're supposed to do. Case in point, this moment where you have the startling rudeness to refuse being consumed. Then Skip calls out a comma. He's like, you didn't need that comma in there. Which, yeah, this is the point where it's starting to get like, okay, come on, dude.
Guy literally wants to eat you, and you're correcting his grammar now. He's just going to do it out of spite.
And then the dragon's like, you're not much fun at parties, are you, small human? I don't get invited to parties very often. Yeah, I can't imagine why. So...
Just reminds me of Avatar when like Sokka's talking to the giant owl monster and like tries to do something, and like this owl monster looks at him and goes, "You're not very bright, are you?"
Yeah, that's true. Oh gosh, I love Sokka. But then Sokka's like an inventing genius later, so he is bright. He's just a special guy, that Sokka.
It's situational.
He refuses to get eaten, and the dragon says, "You're making Mother Nature cry."
That's such a good line.
Favorite line in the story, hands down.
Good, we could use more rain. Why don't you just go eat a cow? Why don't you go eat some grass? And he says humans can't digest grass. And he says, and dragons can't digest cows. So I love that, actually. An explanation for why the dragon doesn't just go after a bigger and much easier to trick and catch animal. It's like, no, we actually can't digest those. We're built to eat humans. Which, I mean, yeah, if something had evolved specifically to eat humans, then I totally could understand this.
What do they do with the dragon body after they kill it? Do they eat it? Can humans digest dragons?
That. Yeah, I don't know.
What does dragon steak taste like?
I've seen that come up in multiple works of fiction, and a lot of times I feel like a recurring theme I've read is that humans cannot eat them, that it's like poisonous to them or something.
Okay. Well, I guess we did have that conversation a few books ago about like the toxic tyrannosaurs.
That's true. Which is funny because I was just thinking about the scene in Dragon Ball where Gohan is having to live in nature and he keeps chopping a Tyrannosaurus a steak off of the T-Rex's tail every day. And so yeah, he's like, I find that rather unfair. Who eats you? And the dragon says, the worms once were dead. It's all very metaphysical. Which is funny because this is absolutely the same, like a conversation a cow could be having with a human.
Yeah. But not the wolves, apparently.
Oh yeah. It's not my fault I'm at the top of the food chain, cow. Just, get eaten. And so apparently dragons don't need to eat very often, once every few months. So that's why they haven't wiped all the humans out. He's like, you don't run out of what is it you eat again? Cows, pigs, carrots, very few wolves. Had to call that back. And the dragon's like, think about it this way. You'll be doing good by sacrificing yourself for someone else. Because if I don't eat you, I'll have to go eat somebody else. Probably like a fair virgin or something like a fair young virgin. Poor child.
Such a manipulative dragon.
Right? Like, you getting eaten now would be very brave and noble and heroic of you. And Skip acts like he's like convinced. He's like, oh, well, I mean, when you put it that way. And so he gets up, gets closer, and then is like, wait, what am I doing? And steps back. And it was just enough to entice the dragon, intoxicated by Skip's scent. Even though he knew the hunters were out there, he jumps down, and Master Johnston is, have at 'em, boys. And here come 24 hunters, crossbow bolts firing, a blunderbuss or two out here.
That was a nice touch.
They shoot the bird shot from the blunderbusses through the unfurled wings to punch holes to make the dragon's chances of flying off even lower, which that's very clever. And so, yeah, everybody runs up. They stab the dragon, stab him up good. Skip trips again, but manages to just avoid getting eaten. And he's just like, I really need a new line of work. And that's the end of chapter 2. And we skip to chapter 4. It says, that's not an error. Brandon wasn't happy with the third chapter, so he didn't share it. I believe it introduces the sorceress character. So we don't even, this person acts like they haven't read it either. It's like, I think this is what happens in it. It doesn't really matter. And so Skip is just sitting down now. He gets a cup of warm cider and a blanket.
I mean, that seems like it just takes place immediately afterwards. So I'm like, how much did we actually miss there?
Yeah. I mean, I guess this could be a little bit, I don't know. I don't know how long killing a dragon takes. But yeah, they are backing away from the dead dragon here, so it doesn't seem like it's been that long. And Skip's just like, man, I feel like dragons and people should be able to get along. Like, both races are sentient, can have conversations. Both seem to have trouble spelling things properly. And here comes the sorceress strolling past. And Master Johnson's like, it's the most dangerous one we've ever tackled for you, mistress. Might be worth a little bonus, don't you think? And she doesn't give a crap what he's saying. She grabs a sword from a guy's waist and jabs it into the dragon. She rarely says a word, never participates in the hunts. And unlike other people who have knacks, dawn facers, he calls them, are supposed to have very powerful magics. Not that she ever uses it to help. So, yeah, she shoves the sword in the beast's belly and opens up its stomach and starts looking for something. She's apparently been paying for this full band of hunters to come out and hunt dragons for months, looking for something specific. There's gold and diamonds and all sorts of stuff in there, but she doesn't care about any of that. I also like that apparently while she has some sort of magic that lets her dig through the innards of a dragon and not actually get dirty from it, which that's convenient.
Yeah, I'd like that power.
It says that she's paying these hunters, and they also get all the treasure that the dragon keeps in its stomach. So I feel like they must be making a lot of money here. Skip's not making any of it. Also interesting that dragons have two stomachs, one for food and another for storing things in. It's like, I mean, yeah, dragons don't have clothes, so they don't have pockets, so they have to have an inside pocket. Makes sense to me. So the hunters claim to be servants of the greater good, protecting men by slaying dragons, but really they're just out here for some money. Every man who gets a stab in on the dragon gets a share. I wonder if the blunderbusses and crossbows count, because it says you have to stab the dragon. Those guys are doing a lot of work. But he says that, you have to run in to get a stab in there to get some of the money, but also the ones who run in first often end up dead. So it's like a balancing act. The smart ones retire with some money. Most of them just die. He's like, and that's going to be me. I'm going to be one of those dead guys. So I would prefer to avoid that. Sorceress wants to go further in the mountains, and Master Johnson's like, but that's where the great drakes live. Like, this guy was big by our standards, but those guys are, like, huge. We can't survive if we try that. And she's just like, greater risk, greater reward. And then she comes up to talk to Skip, and it's like, hey, I heard what you said earlier about not wanting to be bait anymore. But I chose this group of hunters because of you. You being here makes them more likely to encounter dragons, and I don't have any time to spare. So you got to keep doing what you're doing.
And to be fair, like, as we find out at the end of the story, if you are, like, just dragon bait by existing, if they are already naturally drawn to your presence, then being the bait for a group of dragon hunters is probably safer than he's giving it credit for. I mean, yes, it's still dangerous, but at least you got guys always on the ready to, have you back.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like he has lived his life not able to stay in one place because dragons keep attacking and no one really wants him around because wherever he goes, dragons show up. So yeah, having professional dragon hunters with you at all times is probably a safe bet. Maybe if the story went on, that's how they would convince him.
Yeah, probably.
And the sorceress is like, I mean, doesn't all this wealth tempt you? And he's like, well, I mean, I don't get any of it. I don't get paid. And she's like, what? Like, yeah, you gotta stab the dragon to get paid. And I don't get to do any stabbing. I feel like you could be the bait and still stab. Like, when everybody else shows up to stab, can't you turn around and also stab? You're the closest already, so why not? But whatever. And he says, yeah, and but you're the one the dragons come to eat. He's like, I know, but no pay for me. And she says, who's behind this? WHOSE. And he says, who's behind this? She says, no, I asked you. And he says, no, that was a correction. You used the wrong form of the word who. I can hear apostrophes. And but the words sound exactly the same. And he says, you had them mixed up in your mind. And so that's where we get this thing that he can, like, figure out what's in her head. That makes this knack run real deep.
Sounds like such a burden.
Yeah. I don't know if it's more of a burden because he apparently just can't let it go and has to explain it to people. Or would it be more of a burden to keep it all locked up while it annoys you? I don't know. But I feel like he makes it bigger than it has to be by, like, arguing about it every time. And she says, I knew what I meant to say. And he says, still came out wrong. Which, that's the weird part where she's like, I mean, I was trying to say this. I knew what I meant to say. And he's like, well, it came out wrong. I'm like, well, how does it come out with an apostrophe when you don't mean to put that? It's like a really bizarre level of this correction at this point. Master Johnston is quite firm on the point. It's in the group's charter. If you don't stab, but are still valuable, you get to eat, but you don't get paid. Except for Johnston himself. He always gets some money. And he's like, it's not even about the money. I don't want to die. So, I mean, my contract says, and she's like, I don't care what your contract says. Really? Because I rewrote it several times and used some very fine punctuation and interesting words. It's quite marvelous. And she's just like, I need you here. Okay, so what do you want? He says he wants to be a lexicographer. I didn't figure you for the dancing type. That's a choreographer. A lexicographer is a person who gathers words.
Love how even you got the mysterious and powerful sorceress, and even she's not immune to this. Like, just fucking words up.
Right? Although, yeah, I mean, in my mind, like, sorceress, wizard type person is a person who, like, has studied a lot of things, like magic things. So the fact that, like, it feels weird to me that that sort of person would hear a lexicographer and think choreographer. But
Yeah.
maybe magic works different in this world. He wants to gather words, and she's like, what about gold? That's a word. No, I mean, don't you want gold? He says, nah, too heavy. Jewelry?
Yeah.
I already have dragons chasing me. If I were rich, then people would want to rob me too. So I'll just stick with words. What will you do with them? He's like, oh, that's the exciting part. I'm going to put them in a big book, right? And it'll have all the words and their proper spellings. What good would that do? It would make my life a lot less annoying. Have you heard the spelling most of these hunters use? And she's like, but most of us can't hear spelling, so we don't care. It's like, with this book, everyone could look and see how words are spelled and no one will get confused. These days, everyone has to stare at a document for hours trying to figure out what all the words are because no one uses the same spellings, which, okay, that would be annoying. Just today, I've heard the word dragon spelled dragoon, daragon, dragon, darajin, and blarsnaf. Like, wait, blarsnaf? Yeah, that was from Pug the Cook. He speaks Lucarvian, but the word should actually be spelled blarsnef in his language, so you see what I have to put up with.
So, like, he's multilingual. He has this problem with every language.
Yeah, doesn't that just make it worse?
Way worse.
This guy's life does not sound great, is what I'm saying here. She's not impressed by his arguments, and he's just like, the world's willing to accept misunderstood artists, thieves, peasants who dream of royalty, but nobody gets me, the misunderstood philologist. They only ever run me out of town for bringing dragons down on them. He's like, I need a book with all the words in it, a word book. I gotta have a better name than that. But anyway. And then he says, did you know 14,000 people died last year because of a misspelling? And she's like, I find myself skeptical of this. So yes, there was a peace treaty, and they used the wrong spelling of the word peace, which started a war because when it says continue in peace, they thought it meant continue in pieces. And 14,000 people died before they found the problem.
But also, it's like they're reading this, and their immediate reaction when they read that is, it must be a threat, not, hey, someone just fucked up.
Yeah, get them.
Yeah.
Honestly, it sounds like a terrible world to live in.
This whole discussion really is very Hitchhiker's Guide to me, and I like it.
Yep.
And so she's like, look, just continue as bait for a few more weeks, and I'll help you with your dumb book thing. And he's like, well, I mean, what help could you be? And she says, I know lots of words. And he starts to think that her voice sounds different now. She's not whispering anymore. She's actually gotten into this conversation, and her voice sounds less frightening that way, kind of melodic. Maybe she's like charming him on some level, like with some sort of magic. I don't know.
Maybe it's in that third chapter.
Maybe. And she's like, that's settled then. I'm glad we had this conversation. And he's like, I didn't agree, but she's not listening. So that night they're having a celebration, drinking some beer, or sleeping off all the beer from their post-dragon celebration. And he packs his things and slips out of camp unseen. It's like, this stint was kind of nice. It was cool to find a place where I was wanted and needed for once, but I want to find a place where I'm wanted and needed for something other than being eaten. So I'm out of here. It was particularly ironic then that about 2 hours out of camp, he found himself cornered by a dragon and not a single hunter around to kill the thing for him. And that's the end. It's like, maybe there'll be more in the future, but it was really just a writing exercise. So this was posted November 2019, so not terribly long ago. There could still be more.
I thought the original thing said he did it in like 2011.
Yeah, this was posted on the website in 2019. I don't know.
Yeah, here we go. Slightly fleshed out and extended version of the dialogue writing exercise Brandon posted in January 2011.
And this was posted on Brandon's forum in May 2011, since they were having issues with the website. But now it's getting moved here. So yeah, it has been a very long time since he wrote this. So yeah, maybe we're past the point where something new might come of it.
Unless it's one of the new books.
That's true. It could be one of these secret books. I've been avoiding all spoilers on them, so it's entirely possible.
Have there been much spoilers coming out?
He's
I thought they were
talked
pretty
about it.
tight-lipped about it.
He's talked about it some, and like there's some information, like the names of the books and a little bit about the plot and stuff that he's talked about to kind of wet people's whistle for it. But there's always a thing that's like, hey, if you don't want to know any of the details, if you want to be totally unspoiled for the new books, then don't read what's about to be here next. So I've avoided it. I want to be surprised.
Yeah, fair enough.
But there's actually always some information coming out beforehand. Not enough to like spoil the whole book, but you get some interesting little bits. And really, he released the first chapter of the next Mistborn book a couple of years ago now, I think. Well, maybe
wow.
not that long ago, because he didn't actually start writing it until a couple. Now I'm gonna have to look it up. The Lost Metal chapter preview. Okay, no, that was like maybe not even a year ago. So it just felt longer ago to me. Yeah, he released chapter 1 and 2, or at least a preview of them, or read a preview of them at a con or something like that a decent while ago. So, and in the run up to a new big book like that, they release chapters on the publisher's website, I think. And so like for the last couple Stormlight books, which are, really huge books, there have been like a bunch of chapters starting like 2 months beforehand. They'll release like a chapter a week. So you end up with like 8 or 10 chapters by the time the book comes out.
Yeah, okay.
And apparently they're doing that right now for the lead up to the Mistborn book release in November, because I had someone ask, hey, are you going to read these chapters and do for the Patreon, do reactions to them? I was like, I guess I probably should, but I'm going to go ahead and do the Alcatraz book first and see how far that gets us. And then if by that time, like, the new book is out, then there's no reason for me to do the lead up thing. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
If they're releasing a chapter a week, could you do it though? Like, would you go crazy having to read a chapter a week? Only a chapter a week?
No, I don't. I mean, when that's all that's available,
our
it's
pain.
fine. Because yeah, I always I read the Stormlight chapters when they came out for those books. So
Okay. So knowing that nothing else is available to go on to helps.
yes, I think it does.
Fair.
Although I've been pretty good with the Alcatraz book that I've been doing the thing for, because I can only read a chapter when I'm sitting here in front of my computer with my microphone and everything. And so I'll record 1 or 2, and then I'm like, well, I'll record them and edit them right away. And then I guess for the audience, if you're not on the Patreon, at the time of this recording, I've already posted the first 2 chapters of that book that I read and reacted to. And so it'll probably, I was thinking maybe like a Tuesday, Thursday release schedule on those, so that I'm not like releasing them all at a go and we're done in a week, but new ones are coming out fairly often. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. Mostly because I released the first one on a Tuesday, and then by the time I finished the second one, it was Thursday. So I was just like, maybe that's a good schedule to stick to. But yeah, it's actually hard to find a decent chunk of time that I can come and sit in front of my computer. I don't need to be doing anything else that I can read. Usually I'll like read in bed at night, or I'll read, like, I'll be working, and while I'm waiting for some program to run, I'll read a little bit. And I can't do that now. So it's been challenging, but I'm not reading when I'm not able to react to it. So I feel like I'm doing a good job. It might be harder with like a book like Mistborn that is kind of more epic, and I'm more invested in wanting to know what happens. But I guess we'll find out. So yes, that is I Hate Dragons. Just a fun name for a story, a fun little, just silly thing that I thought would be entertaining to read. And I will make sure to put a link in the description for this episode so that you can read it before you listen to this. But if you don't know that until now, then that didn't help you, because we're at the end. So should have said that earlier, I suppose. For next time, the story that we are reading is, let me bring it up so that I don't say the wrong name. The story that we are reading for next time is a short story also posted for free on Brandon's website called Centrifugal. This is basically the first thing that Brandon ever wrote in, I wouldn't even say professional capacity. He wrote this in high school to enter into a writing contest at a sci-fi convention, and he won the writing contest. So this is his first piece of like fiction that he ever wrote that was kind of like at that level.
It got published
Cool.
in some way.
Yeah, I was tempted to say published, except that the thing we read last week is what he calls his first ever published sci-fi story, and this is also a sci-fi story. So then it would
okay.
make me feel like a liar to have said that previously. So I'm like, it wasn't really published because it doesn't get, it's not like in a book somewhere, but he submitted it for a contest. It's like official high-level writing. Although, when you click the link, the very first thing it says is, warning, you're about to read a very bad story. So it is even shorter than what we've read this time. So it's there's not much to it. He wrote this spring 1994. So let's see. Let me put the link in here while I'm thinking about it. But it's just interesting to me. It's like his first ever real short story that he wrote on as kind of with this eye to like being a writer kind of. So we will read that one for next time. If you want to read Brandon's first story, the sci-fi convention was called Andromeda 1. And it was like, this is one of the first times I can remember thinking, maybe I can do this, when he won this writing contest. So it's an interesting little read. Definitely not his best work, clearly, but it's interesting nonetheless. So that's what we're reading for next time. I may put a link to that one in the description of this episode too. So that one you can click and get something useful out of.
Just reading the description here and what the judge told him.
Yeah.
At first, we thought you were doing something really postmodern and telling the story from back to front. Then we realized you just stapled the pages backwards.
I like that
dear.
he still won after that. That was.
Wow.
Postmodern. That's. Oh god.
Wow, this is really interesting. Oh, no, he just fucked up.
Your story's good. Have you considered telling it in reverse?
Yeah, we liked it better that way. Weirdly, I don't know. So, okay. Let's read. We have a bunch of emails in the box. We have about 6. So I'm going to read, I think, 3 of these. Get them out of the way. Let's see. This first one is from Tom. And Tom says, hello, Sandra Lance crew. Still listening. Has it been a year? Probably more. I've lost track. Definitely has been at least a couple weeks since April 2020. Yeah, it has.
Just a couple.
At least. Haha. Seriously, I love how I have something to look forward to listening to every Monday when I start my work week. As other listeners have mentioned, I'm particularly pleased with how well this reading schedule works with my timeline to prepare for the release of The Lost Metal. I hope we haven't thrown that off anyone listening. I mean, I'm still hoping we will finish Transmorning before The Lost Metal comes out. So I don't know if the schedule will line up perfectly, he says, but it's pretty close. I was curious if any of you had noticed that Tor.com has been giving away the ebooks for the first 3 Wax and Wayne books for free to their newsletter subscribers. It almost feels like a shame that you had to buy the books beforehand when you could have gotten them for free if you'd kept to your original schedule with covering White Sand first. Well, I already had the ebooks, and Dak and Jamie get actual books, so I don't know that we would have gotten that much out of it. But yeah, I mean, I had noticed that they were giving away those books for free. If only I didn't already own them. I can't wait to see what the crew thinks of the conclusion of this book. I assume we're talking about Band's Morning. They never fail to disappoint in their. They never fail to disappoint. That sounds mean. In their pet theories, either because they're so outlandishly accurate or just plain outlandish. I have to say
that sounds like us.
Yeah, it does. I have to say that Joe being 2 for 2 in the secret Conjura theories has me particularly impressed. Yeah, I know you're reading it more methodically than I did, but it still has me almost raging at the podcast when he anticipated the Lessie reveal in the last book. I still maintain that the ending of that book was one of the most heartbreaking moments for me in the whole Cosmere. Yeah, it's very sad. I agree.
We haven't read a lot of Cosmere, but for sure, I buy it.
In number of books, I think we are more than halfway through. Now I have to look. Now that we're talking about it, give me 1 second. Because there's, the Stormlight books are big, so in text-wise, they take up, I think more than half. But there's only 4 of those novels out now. So we've read, let's see how many things we've read. We read the first 3 Mistborn books. We read the 11th Metal short stories. I'm going to count these on different hands. 3 books, 1 short story. We read Secret History, which I'm going to, I guess, count as a short story. We read Elantris, another book. Hope of Elantris, another short story. Emperor's Soul, another short story. So that puts us 4 and 4. Sixth of Dusk, 5th short story. Alloy of Law is a book. Shadows of Self, and now Bands of Mourning. So after this, we will have read 7 books, 5 short stories, and we will still have 1 graphic novel, 1 novel, plus the 4 Stormlight novels. So that's 5 novels, 1 graphic novel, and I think 4 more short stories in the Cosmere, and then we will have read everything Cosmere. So yeah, we're a little over halfway in terms of like number of titles.
In my head, the Cosmere is like 50 books.
Eventually it's going to be, but yeah, we're not there yet.
I mean, it doesn't. I'm looking at my shelf now. It doesn't help that every Stormlight book is divided into 2 books.
Oh yeah, that I forgot y'all's are divided like that. That would make it look way bigger for y'all. Yep.
Yeah, I've got nearly an entire shelf of Brandon stuff right now.
That's a popular thing on the Brandon Sanderson subreddits. It's like, look at my Brandon Sanderson shelf.
Well, also all of them are like the same size and they're the white with their colored writing, except for Elantris, which is just poking up like a head and shoulder above the rest of them.
Yeah.
We got you guys the U.S. version of the 10th anniversary of Elantris. It's very sad. Just had to be different.
And because I got them alphabetized by title, Arcanum Unbounded is ahead of it, so Elantris is actually stuck in between a couple of these other books. Can't even put him on the end.
You could arrange them in chronological order, and then Elantris would be first.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, anyway, sorry, back to his Tom's email. I could write so much more about the team's reactions to Wayne's antics. Not the right word for it. Kind of dismisses how problematic he can be, as well as their reactions to Steris, who I agree with the general consensus among Cosmere fans really comes to shine in this book. I don't want to say too much because she's pretty central to one of the crew's current theories, at least at the time I'm writing this. So I won't say more and instead sign off in the ever so eloquent High Imperial wuzzing to the time of next. I don't know what theory that was. Maybe it's Dak's theory that she's evil secretly.
Yeah, no, I did have it's like, oh, could she be the bad guy? And it's like, I don't think so anymore.
Maybe that's what he means. How she really comes into her own this book. She turns evil.
Yeah, possibly. But no, I feel like they're not gonna have the sister turn bad guy and then Steris do it like a chapter later.
If the sister's a bad guy, then yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've had that theory since like the start of the book. We're all pretty hard on that train.
You are, which it would make it the funniest if there's a moment and you're like, oh, she's gonna. I almost said Tindwyl, and that's not her name.
Telsin.
Telson's about to turn, and then it's actually Steris. No one would see that coming.
Steris all along.
And then Steris is a secret Khandra, and you guys were theorizing that Telsin was. It'll be Steris, and Wax will have almost been married to 2 Khandras.
Oh, Jesus.
That would suck.
Okay.
Second email. This one is from Joshua. Hey, I wanted to say I've really enjoyed the podcast since discovering it a few weeks ago. I just finished up Mistborn Era 1 and have enjoyed experiencing the Cosmere through the eyes of new readers immensely, to the detriment of my productivity at work. I left a review on Podcast Addict. Hope that helps the podcast. I particularly love the fact that you guys haven't shied away from expressing criticisms you have of the books. Hopefully everyone listening enjoys that as well. Some of the criticisms you guys had made me think of the Cosmere in ways I never had before. I think the best example of this is how most of the fandom views the books compared to how anyone with no preconceived notions of the Cosmere would. You guys raised some valid criticisms on the ending of the first 2 books, particularly how you would not have been happy to have to wait for the next one to come out. I think the fandom tends to overrate a bit how much each book stands on its own because of how they fit into the greater Cosmere. Sure, you don't need to be aware of the rest of the Cosmere so far to enjoy the books, but someone who's planning on reading an entire series is probably going to be much more forgiving on some questions in one series being left a mystery that may be solved in a later book/series. That's an interesting point. It's probably.
Yeah.
Much as I do love to discuss the Cosmere, I don't think I'd be nearly as good at hosting something like this as Data has been. I'd probably screw up and use something from another series to defend or explain criticisms that are brought up. I'm not saying they aren't valid criticisms, just that I wouldn't be able to resist saying something like, well, have you considered that this might be a choice that Brandon made because he's thinking about how it fits into the Cosmere as a whole?
Also a valid point.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a situation where that would apply, but he has one example of this is Joe's. God, I hope I got that right. I'm terrible with names. Yes, his name is Joe. His complaint about Vin dying. In real life, I probably would have said something like, well, maybe Brandon needed Ellen to be gone so the government would work for Era 2, thinking of how things would be a whole lot different with Ellen and Vin in charge instead of everyone's favorite Lord Mistborn. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way, where it's like, yeah, Ellen would have probably made a much better government than the rest of the crew.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Hmm.
Because there would have been no question he would have been in charge if he'd survived, because he was
Yeah.
already the...
Yeah.
Absolutely, and he probably would have gone about like trying to. I mean, what better time to try to eliminate nobility at all than at a point where nobody has anything and everybody is starting from nothing? Like how the
Yeah.
concept of nobility even survive that? I don't know, and he probably would not have let that happen.
Yeah.
As an aside, I'm really looking forward to the reactions of Spook being revered like the Scadrial equivalent of George Washington. I'm not familiar enough with Australian history to make an appropriate analogy there. If pushed, I guess John Curtis, who I only know thanks to Civ 6, or Steve Irwin, which I'm sure are terrible comparisons.
I don't know if we really have an equivalent.
No. That's okay. We're familiar.
You're like, yeah, I've heard of George Washington. It's fine.
Yeah. The name rings a bell.
He was the wooden tooth guy, yeah? That's the
Yeah,
one.
there you go.
And something about chopping down a cherry tree or something. Did he do anything else? I'm not sure.
No, that's it.
Can't think of a possible thing.
Oh,
Anyway.
he chopped down the cherry tree to make his teeth. That's
Yeah.
the story.
It
That's
totally
his
fits.
that's his superhero origin story. Mr. Woodtooth.
Mr. Wood. I mean, that's better than some of.
He fights
Yeah.
crime by biting them and giving them splinters.
Have you guys been watching She-Hulk?
Yes, we have.
So in the latest episode, they had Mr. Immortal.
Yes.
I love what they did with him. It was really funny, but I hadn't heard of him before. Like I hadn't read the comics that he's in, which I guess is like Great Lakes Avengers.
Yeah, I've only seen him once because he showed up in a Deadpool comic and like Deadpool cut his head off and everyone's just like, you killed Mr. Immortal, and he's just like, think about that for a second.
Oh yeah, I think I saw him there too, because that's when Deadpool's attacking them for not being registered, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then it turns out they are registered, and Squirrel Girl beats the crap out of Deadpool. Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, that was my first exposure to Squirrel Girl.
Me too, actually, now that you say that. But yeah, so I was reading about him and his power, which is just he can't die. What a power. And it led me to a different Wikipedia article about like a bad guy called like Mr. Asbestos or Asbestos Man or something like that.
Oh
it's
yeah,
just
he was a Human Torch bad guy back in the 50s.
Yeah, and I was just like, what a shitty bad guy. Like he made a suit out of super asbestos and then challenged the Human Torch to a fight and beat him because the Human Torch's fire was ineffective. And then
Against asbestos.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like he knew exactly what he wanted to do and he succeeded.
Yep, exactly. And then apparently he doesn't appear again in the comics for like 50 years until he shows up in a comic that I think is related to something about Mr. Immortal. I think that's how I got to that. But where he is dying from cancer he contracted from being exposed to that super asbestos in his suit. And he's regretting no longer being able to be a supervillain. And I was just like, wow, okay, this is a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when you're like his superhero is Mr. Woodteeth. I'm like, that's almost as bad as Asbestos Man.
Oh man, like if there's a book, I don't know, have you ever read Super Gods by Grant Morrison?
I haven't read it. I read like a summary of it because everyone kept telling me how great it was, but I didn't actually read the book.
Yeah, no, it's a great history of just superheroes in comics in general, and also part autobiography of Morrison. Like really fascinating read, but I remember like there's one point where in the text they're talking about, it's like there was a massive superhero boom in like the 40s and 50s because they were just what was popular, and coming out of World War II and the Depression, it's like this is fun and uplifting and stuff, and so they had all these really weird and bizarre characters. And Morrison just says at one point, yeah, the absolute worst of these was the superhero called the Red Bee. He had a gun which like stung people, and his sidekick was a little bee he called Stinger or Stingy or something, and he kept it in his belt buckle. And it was like, yeah, look, it was hard to come back from that one.
Oh, I haven't seen that one before. I've read a lot of articles where it's like the worst comics heroes or villains, and there's always some really funny ones in there that I'm like, when are we gonna see these guys in an MCU movie?
Oh yeah, like there's like every list is gonna have some obscure like bottom feeding ones, and it's like, but sometimes they can make it work, like Polka Dot Man.
Sure, yeah, that you're right. That was very very fun in the movie, the way they handled him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just pulled up a list of worst villains because there was one I was trying to remember and I couldn't, and so I'm like, where? I was trying to remember what this guy was, and then this list had Asbestos Lady on it, which apparently she also died from cancer from exposure to asbestos.
Wasn't that the original Asbestos guy's daughter?
Maybe. I didn't actually read any details. I was just like, okay, well, that's interesting. Let's see. Fantastic Four, Human Torch. I don't know. It doesn't actually say. No, there's a guy who like rides like an old timey bicycle. He was my favorite.
What, like the penny farthing with the big wheel in the front?
Yes. And I'm trying to remember his name because it was it was hilarious. And I gotta find this guy now. Because it was like, we want to see this guy in movies. And I was like, oh, so do I now. Like, now that I've seen this picture. Oh, yeah, there he is. Turner D. Century.
Oh, God, yes, I remember that one.
But no, I was wrong. It's not an old-timey bicycle. He has a flying tandem bicycle with a dummy on in the back seat. That's what it was.
How is that more practical than just a regular bike?
I don't know, but it's hilarious. Oh, the mannequin's head is a napalm bomb. So there you go. It's just useful. His grand evil plan was to kill everyone under the age of 65 with ultrasonic waves from his horn of time while riding his flying bicycle.
That's like the ultimate boomer.
Exactly. That's why we need this guy. Sadly, he was only able to knock down everyone under 65. That's it. Huh.
Wow.
Okay. I want this guy. This picture is just terrific. I'm gonna share it with you guys. Anyway, sorry, we gotten way off. So that was pretty much the end of Joshua's. It says, anyway, I've rambled enough. Wasing to the time of next, Gonchos, which is a
Man,
word
you
for
rambled
different.
enough. Your email led us to ramble some weird places, man.
Yeah, it did. Good times.
But thank you
One
for the
more email. Yes, thank you. One more email for today. This one is from Spencer. He says, hey, I found your podcast about a month ago, and I'm almost to the end of Hero of Ages. 4 more episodes to go. Can't wait to hear how the crew reacts to Spook becoming a Mistborn and Sazed becoming Harmony. Listening to this podcast has changed my mind on Spook and made me realize how whiny he can be. Even though, yeah, glad we could help. Even though it will be a while until I listen to the episode where you respond to this, if you guys even still do that, I'm super excited to hear how the crew reacts to the Wax and Wayne series. Keep up the great work. Wasing to the time of next. Thank you, Spencer.
Thanks, man.
Awesome emails. Led to some weird stuff. If anyone would like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon now, where, as I said, we've got some patron-exclusive content coming out. If you're an Alcatraz and the Evil Librarians fan, come and check out me live reading or live responding. I'm not actually reading out the chapters. I'm not trying to provide a free audiobook and get sued. I am responding, talking about the chapters as I'm reading them for the first time. So come check those out if you are interested in that sort of thing. And if you're not an Alcatraz fan, then I'll be doing the same when the new Mistborn book comes out, so you can become a patron if you want to hear those. Music by Miracle of Sound. Throw that out there. Remember, for next time, we are reading Centrifugal, a short story available for free on Brandon's website. And we have 2 more episodes after this before we're going to get back to the book. That is the plan, at least. So, if nothing else, come back 3 weeks after this episode and for us getting back into the Bands of Mourning. We only have, 3 more episodes of the Bands of Mourning to go before we're done. So we are rapidly approaching the end there, and it should be a lot of fun, assuming everyone doesn't completely forget in the 4 weeks that we take off what happened.
No, I've read the chapters. I have a pretty vivid recollection of what happened.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for listening, especially those of you sticking with us through the diversion from what you expected. I know that last time when we had the baby break, it was kind of the beginning of Elantris, so I don't think everyone was as amped up for the finale as they were when we took off at almost the end of Bands of Mourning. So thank you for sticking with us, everybody, even though it was a tense time to suddenly jump off. Can't control when babies come, so what are you going to do? Next week, Centrifugal, like I said, and Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo?
Fill my mug with a mighty jug of honey, heart and grey, drinking mead in the halls of Whiterun, the maidens and the men. We swig our brew until we spew, then we fill our mugs again. You can keep your filthy skooma, it makes our bellies bleed. 'Cause when we raise our flag into another dead dragon, there is just one drink we need, Nordmead.